In today's show, the making of a star. Who's showing the way to Darcy Fogarty?
The other life of an AFL player.
And the important reason why the Mo has to go.
Hi everyone and welcome to The Crows Show, brought to you by Optus. I'm Mark Bickley.
And I'm Alana Smith. And Mark, quick question to get started with. How many games do you think it typically takes for a young player to find their feet in the AFL?
Well, generally it's around 20 to 30 games. To start with, the pace is often so fast, everything seems like a blur, but after a while it begins to slow down and the players generally feel comfortable.
Well, it took Darcy Fogarty just 11 games to show his class and his enormous potential with those 5 goals in Perth.
Yes, but he still has much to learn, and that's why his mentors at the club are so important.
2 weeks ago, Darcy capped off his AFL return in emphatic style.
He takes it on, the young man, the brashness of youth on a Fogarty night at the Adelaide Oval.
Lucky enough it went through because I had a few players. I think Murph and Butch were out the side, so didn't really have much of a look, but when I realised they were there, I was pretty lucky I kicked it.
But even better was to come in Perth.
And it's the young man, Darcy Fogarty, who's coming of age today.
While that performance put future opponents on notice, Darcy admits he's still working on his game with the help of fellow forwards, particularly Taylor Walker.
Leading patterns on field and where to lead and how to lose defenders and even body work. When we're doing competitive stuff, he's helped me out a lot there, so that's one of his strengths and one of my weaknesses.
And we probably play similar styles of footy. He's a lead up forward, can take a contested mark, and he's a beautiful kick left and right, so he's got a huge future ahead of him.
In the meantime though, he faces a tough off-season.
He'll have to work on his endurance and his tank, and he'll probably put his hand up and say this as well, but he needs to drop a couple of kgs, and that won't hurt him in the long run being able to compete against the big defenders.
So with those improvements and even more games under his belt, there's no limit to what Darcy Fogarty can achieve.
He's having a big impact this afternoon. He's got 3.
Having lived it himself, Taylor will be the perfect mentor for Darcy. Of course, one thing he's learning is that there's much more to being an elite player than simply football. Performing for the camera is an important and potentially lucrative requirement. Recently, Rory Atkins and the AFLW's Ebony Marinoff starred in a new TV commercial, an experience that Rory recounts in this segment brought to us by Revolution Roofing.
Having to do adverts, filming, it's a different sort of public speaking because you're speaking to a camera as opposed to an audience, and you can't really gauge how they're responding to things to actually act. So it is fun, but takes a bit of getting used to. Got together with Noffy during the week and filmed that commercial for McDonald's, so that was a bit of fun. We didn't have any lines, so I knew I couldn't stuff up there. We've got a fair few guys that do ads, like you see Tex on the Victory Roofing, and Sloaney's been on a few Toyota and Auskick ads, so they obviously find it a bit more comfortable doing that stuff in front of the camera. Yeah, I don't mind it. I mean, there is an obligation from the club to pursue these commercial relationships, and if an organisation wants you to be the face of them and the face of the partnership between the Crows and them, I mean, that should be considered a privilege. Talking on the media and radio, being a results-based industry, it can be dictated to the kind of questions you get asked and what happens during the week, so you kind of need to tread carefully around those things because you don't want to dip your toe in anything that probably shouldn't be said. So I do enjoy it. I still find that I can be myself in the media and have a joke and a laugh around and not take anything too seriously, which is the way I like to approach things.
Thinks you could teach them a thing or two. You're still making commercials 20 years later.
Award-winning ones too.
Debatable. Okay, there's been plenty of speculation recently about a specific AFL reserves competition involving all 18 clubs starting in a couple of years' time. Mike, does the idea have merit?
Yeah, I think it does, particularly for the league. When you think about New South Wales and Queensland, I really feel they're at a disadvantage. In terms of benefits for Adelaide, I think the fact that if they were to travel and they were to play on the main ovals before the games, I think that would be hugely beneficial for some of the younger Crows. And as I said, to travel with the team and get into those routines, I think that would help.
It sounds like it could be costly. Do you foresee it requiring a big budget?
Well, it would, because the travel factor would be enormous. You've got to take a whole another team. You would have trainers and doctors and the like. So I would expect the AFL would have to subsidise that in a lot of ways. So it means they'd have to sell sponsorship and maybe TV rights. But as I said, for a league, I think it would be very beneficial.
In this state, at least, what do you see as the impact it would have on the league?
Well, I think there's enormous interest still in the SANFL teams for both Crows and Port Adelaide. So it will take away some of the profile from those leagues. But in terms of a purity factor, I think most people think the competition is compromised by having players who are full-time, who one player's salary could be more than the whole of the budget for the other team. So in a pure sense of competition-wise, I think the SANFL is better off, but it would certainly lose some profile.
All right, thanks, Mark. Sounds like it's a matter of watch this space. Well, do stay with us on The Crow Show. Still to come, how many fans remember this former player? A 5-goal performance earned him a Rising Star nomination. We'll catch up with him after the break. Of course, just one minor round game left against the Bulldogs in Ballarat next Sunday afternoon, and that'll be followed immediately by this year's final episode of The Crow Show. Now, if you sign up as a free We Fly As One member today, you'll go into the draw to win over 100 prizes, including a brand new Toyota Corolla. Go to weflyas1.afc.com.au for all the details. Well, after sharing months together in rehab last year, Brad Crouch and Brodie Smith should know everything there is to know about each other. Nearly a whole season has passed since then, so with the help of Thomas Farms, it's time to put Smithers' memory to the test.
This week we're joined by Brad Crouch. Let's see how much I know about the shove. Welcome, Brad.
Yeah, thanks, Brodie. Who did I first play footy for?
Somewhere in Ballarat, some sort of stinking club in Ballarat.
Well, no, incorrect. Ballarat Swans.
Ballarat Swans, Ballarat,
yeah. What's my galloper called?
Oh, I know this. Watch list.
That's my trotter.
Oh, same.
My galloper is that something.
Yeah, the astrologist.
Yes, correct. Yes. Gave you a fair bit of time there.
Yes. We'll cut that, mate, before I got it straight away.
Do I have any other siblings other than Matt?
No.
Correct. And what breed is my dog?
The little Jack Russell.
No, incorrect.
What?
It's a fox terrier.
Oh, I thought it was a Jack Russell. Finn.
Yeah, Finn. That's his name, not his breed.
All right, thanks for joining me, mate.
Beautiful, thanks, Matt.
Now, when fans swap stories about the exploits of former players, the name Matthew Cluzak wouldn't readily spring to mind. He's better known for his 180-odd games for Woodville West Torrens. He was drafted by the Crows in 1994 and made an immediate impact that year, kicking 5 goals against West Coast. Thanks to Flight Centre, Matthew recalls his 3 years with Adelaide.
Adelaide's chances of stopping the West Coast juggernaut appeared slim, but in a last-ditch effort to stay in the finals race, the Crows played on heart alone. Up forward, Cluzak kicked 5.
I had that one good game where I kicked 5 against West Coast at home, which was fantastic, but when pretty much every game I got to play was, you know, a game I never thought I'd get to play, so they're all highlights.
This is Cluzak for the Crows.
In those days we were all playing, you know, back in the SNFL with our local clubs. In 1993 for the Eagles, we won the first premiership for the Eagles. But again, I was, you know, first year playing senior footy, so I probably didn't appreciate it as much as I do now. All 3 boys love the Crows. The 6-year-old's doing Oz kick and that sort of stuff, so he probably tells more people that I played for the Crows than otherwise would know.
Cluzak doesn't mess around, goes on with.
Well, Matthew helped Woodville West Torrens win the SANFL Premiership in 1993. Still to come, the Mo with a cause, why Geordie needs your help.
A serious health issue has given Jordan Gallucci the motivation to shave off his moustache. It's now 7 months since the mo started to grow and become a talking point for fans and commentators. Now Jordan hopes that publicity will help generate interest in a worsening crisis that's hit home personally.
Making a show out of a mo.
Long ball. It's going to bounce through.
It's a strange look, that, isn't it? It's got a bit of twirl on. That's magnificent.
Oh, wax.
You an handlebar moustache.
When Jordan Gallucci embarked on Mission Moustache earlier this year, it was just for fun.
Never really grown one before, but it just seemed to keep growing, so I just went with it.
And that will end up on his highlight reel. Don't worry about that.
The mo was always going to go, but now the shave will be for a special cause. Jordan wants to raise money for the Breakthrough Mental Health Research Foundation after he was reminded recently of the illness's terrible toll.
A couple of my mates were really close with one of the boys back home from the local footy club. He sadly took his own life just 2 weeks ago now, so yeah, it's not the best situation, and I just want to try and get blokes to speak up and just talk about the way they're feeling.
That's all happened back home in Melbourne, and it's certainly had an impact on Jordan.
I think mental health for men is not something that they generally talk about just through that blokey type persona, I guess.
He's encouraged by the success of Bryce Gibbs's charity haircut.
Yeah, Gibber did a really good job. I mean, he'd been growing it for years, so I haven't quite gone the years on years, but yeah, hopefully I can raise some sort of money like that.
Jordan has established a GoFundMe page with the mo to come off in early September. What started as a bit of fun is no longer a laughing matter.
Don't forget that GoFundMe campaign. Go to the website and help raise money for an issue that, as we know, is just as serious in the AFL as it is elsewhere in the community. Now, when a string of wannabes lined up to challenge Don Pykey at golf, we had to ask, what could possibly go wrong? Well, plenty as it turns out. Thunderbird star Chelsea Pittman was among those who couldn't help but give us a laugh, all thanks to Optus.
Hey, yo. Right, yeah. Laughing the fact you've almost nailed the cameraman.
Oh my God, sorry.
Right,
I feel really bad.
No, that's good. We're going to give you this one here.
What do you want me to hit with, left or right?
You can go either hand, whichever you're comfortable with. How do you go as a golfer?
Not that good.
No, that was another warm-up. Warm-up number one. All right, warm-up number two. Warm-up number two. We're doing good out here. That's okay. No. There it is. Launched over there. Was that a hole in one? I'm feeling a bit uncertain myself having watched. No, horrible golf turned you off a little.
Do you know, it's funny, all the sport and everything, I've never been so nervous as I am right now. I can't believe this. Look at that. He's getting some advice.
All the pros do this.
Get down, get down, have a look.
Is that a good angle?
See what the line is you like?
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's a misread.
There he goes.
That actually looks amazing. That's pretty good.
Oh dear. Oh yeah. Well,
okay. Very nice. Very nice. Oh, the 7-iron, I should have gone the forward. Yeah. Creeping up. Getting up there. Yeah. Okay. Righto. Creeping away out there. Yeah. That's it. Yep. Okay.
This is against the coach. So if I get this in, I'll talk about this for the next 40 years.
This looks good. This looks very good.
Oh, jeez. Oh.
That did everything but go in.
Did you see that? He's
Nice
made
work.
me just come out of my shell. The coach has just done it.
Nice work.
That's a pretty solid 3 there. Thanks for that. Pykey, you had nothing to worry about, least of all from me. Now, as we touched on earlier, injury forced Brad Crouch to sit out all of last year. This season, though, he hasn't missed a game, and his outstanding form will see him feature prominently in the Club Champion Award. But he'll have strong competition from someone close to home, as the Advertiser's Reece Homfray explains.
There have been a few positives at Adelaide this season, but perhaps none bigger than the return to form of Brad Crouch. And not just Brad, but his younger brother Matt. They've both put together outstanding seasons in the midfield, and don't be surprised if they go 1, 2 or very close at the best and fairest at the end of the year. After overcoming a debilitating groin injury which kept him out for the entire year last season, Brad hasn't missed a beat this year. He's played every game. He's had 12 30-plus disposals and 43 against Richmond mid-year. Put together, they've formed a really powerful 1-2 punch combination in the midfield, and it looks like it'll continue for a while to come. Brad's contracted until the end of 2020, Matt to 2021. Both, I understand, are happy in Adelaide, settled at the footy club, and I'd expect them to have long-term futures at West Lakes.
Well, if Brad wins the best and fairest, he might have Matt to thank. He does seem to handball to him a lot. When Alana returns, the young Crow with an impressive football pedigree.
Lachie Scholl is one of 6 current Crows players who earned their AFL call-up from the Calder Cannons. The club is a powerhouse in Victoria's Under-18 TAC Cup, and Scholl excelled in his final season last year. He also comes from a strong football family. His father's cousins Craig and Brad Scholl played more than 400 games for North Melbourne and Geelong. Thanks to Toyota Good for Footy, Lachie remembers his junior years.
I started at St Bernard's. We played in the Western Region League, which was sort of more Altona. I think we won 3 or so grand finals there, so that was an awesome experience. And yeah, playing footy with your best mates growing up, you know, there's nothing better. Calder, I spent 2 years there, and I was really fortunate to get a real opportunity with them, especially in my bottom age year, when probably I didn't really expect it, and had a big part in my development as a footballer and as a person as well. So Dad played 30 odd games for Carlton between 1991 and 1994, and played in the 93 grand final, which unfortunately they lost. Dad is related to Craig and Brad Scholl, so Dad is cousins with those two who are brothers. Craig played, I think, around 250 games for North. Brad had, I think, a very successful career at Geelong as well. Dad was more my main coach growing up, especially early days in juniors. He was really important and still is.
Well, coaches can't speak highly enough of Lachie's development this year. Now, the 2019 Toyota Good for Footy raffle aims to raise much needed funds for grassroots clubs across Australia. Do your part to support local footy and buy a ticket. Go to toyota.com.au/AFL raffle and help raise some serious cash for local clubs. And Toyota also rewards our Crow in the Crowd each week. This season we've been out and about on Adelaide Oval's Southern Plaza, and that's where we spotted you. If you recognise yourself, contact the club by 5 p.m. next Wednesday. Have some photo ID handy and a merchandise pack will be yours.
That's about all we have time for in today's show, brought to us by Optus.
Now remember to keep an eye on @TheCrowShow on Twitter for the latest news, and also check out the club's other social media accounts, Facebook and Instagram.
Thanks for your company today. Next week we'll show you how Brodie Smith gets a few laughs at his teammates' expense.
And we must point out that next week's Crow Show will be our last for 2019, and it will be on at the special time of Sunday afternoon, 3:30 p.m, immediately following the Adelaide Bulldogs game in Ballarat.
We look forward to joining you then.
It's bye for now.